Yeah, just go live here, and hopefully Carlos will be here at 5:21.
Yeah.
Assuming Dylan.
I mean, we're not gonna, I don't know if we need that, but I'm not gonna be able to really have sound.
Vice President for Athletics, Ray Anderson.
Thanks everyone for coming. It's an honor to be the athletic director at Arizona State, and I must tell you, it's going to be hard pressed to ever be presented an honor as special as this one is to be up here today as part of the Pat Tillman Statue Initiative program. So very humbled by that. I can't give enough credit to Gabe Cadwin, who you just met, who really put his heart and soul and was really the leader of our group to really press this initiative. So Gabe, just come up for a second so we can really acknowledge you, because the Tillman family members who have gathered, Kevin and the whole crew, we couldn't be more honored and privileged than to have this day to celebrate with you. So, Art Pierce. Art stepped forward and with Gabe and with his passion for ASU and certainly the memory and the legacy of Pat Tillman, stepped up and determined that this is something that just had to happen. And so, Art, thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
And we introduce you to your Sun Devil family.
All right, great. Isn't this exciting? I mean, really, I mean, how great can it be? And I'm only going to take a minute or two because we need to get to see what this beautiful statue looks like. But as I've been introduced, my name is Art Pierce. I'm a fourth generation Arizonian and a third generation Sun Devil. Of course, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today for this special event honoring Pat Tillman. I'd like to thank the Tillman family specifically, because without their support, we would have never been able to do this. And also, I want to thank all the ASU people that I've worked with, all the way from President Crow to the Ray Anderson, and of course Coach Graham, that any one of those could have said no to the deal, and again, this would not have happened. I want to recognize too is Jeff Davenport. Jeff Davenport standing back here. Jeff is the lovely artist that designed Pat Tillman's statue, which you'll see shortly. So you'll be amazed when you see it. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mark.
You met Gabe Cadwin, and Gabe is kind of my liaison with Arizona State University ever since joining the Coaches Club 3 years ago. Well, we both wanted to do something special for this new remodeling of the ASU Stadium, so we were thinking and trying to come up with something that would be unusual and something that would be really lasting. We both heard that Coach Graham had this vision of having Pat Tillman's statue here at the end of the new Pat Tillman Tunnel. And when I heard this vision and he talked about it in his passionate way, I said, I'll volunteer. And the reason I wanted to volunteer is I've got a special family member, my great-grandpa Zeb Pierce, that played here in 1898 and 99 seasons. So we have a long, long history at Arizona State University. While I personally didn't know Pat Tillman, I watched him play here at the ASU Stadium and then later with the Arizona Cardinals. I was inspired by both his passion and his conviction to his principles. Pat was not a native-born Arizonan, but Arizonians as a whole has embraced Pat Tillman as their native son. From now on, Arizonans and everybody will be able to come here to the Pat Tillman statue and be able to know what Pat Tillman looked like and who he was. So now I'd like to introduce Kevin Tillman, Kevin, are you, I know right around here somewhere. Oh, Kevin. Kevin is Pat's brother. And this young man I had the pleasure of meeting recently, and he served with Pat in Afghanistan and Iraq as an Army Ranger. So Kevin, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. I don't get in front of the camera much, so please excuse me if I stumble a little bit. I want to thank everybody for coming. I know Pat would be tickled that everybody showed up for a statue unveiling, so very excited for everybody. I want to thank my family for being here. We got Rich, my bro. We got my mom and dad, my two little lovely kids, and my wife. So it's lovely that you guys are here. A lot of his friends from high school, his teammates, the staff, a lot of people that were a part of ASU are still here. Doug Tamaro is, who I was talking with earlier. He was here with Pat and they're good friends. Zim, Perry Ettinger, there's just a ton of ASU history here. And I just want to thank them. The person I did want to thank, and I spent time with, with Jeff Davenport. We met her at the Mesa facility. She did the statue. She's a beautiful human being. If you have time to chat with her, it's awesome knowing that someone with a big heart like that put together this statue of Pat. I think it could break his heart, The other person is Coach Graham. So my family, we live about 40 miles west, 42 miles west, probably 37, but we live 42 miles west here. And Coach Graham is very generous, and he has us over. We're kind of like a fly on the wall. I'll go up to Camp Donazona and hang out. I got to jump off Pat's little rock when I was up there. I did get stung by a hornet and got a staph infection. Thank you for that, Coach Graham. But I get to go with my family, my two kids, my wife. We come and visit, and one of the beautiful things is just how much Coach Graham has embraced not just Pat, but also the history of ASU and his teammates. Pat didn't play this game in a vacuum. He had teammates. He grew from that, but I want to make sure that is noted. It's not just a statue. People come to this game to watch a team. It's not just an individual player. Although I think he was a very special player. The part that I want to communicate as well is the impact. So the Pat clearly had a very big impact on it. He's on, like their helmet, he's on just about every wall. I'm pretty sure every wall except maybe the wide receiver wall or something. So he's very present, not just in the stadium, but throughout ASU. And I think he would be honored that he had this kind of impact. But I think what isn't talked about is the impact that ASU has had on Pat since he was here. I mean, talked to my mom and dad and my brother Rich. It's like he came here when he was 17 years old. He was, in my eyes, he was a man. But he was a young man, and he had great teammates. He had great coaches, great professors, great other students that would help him grow as a person. And Pat spent his whole life trying to be the best possible person he could possibly be. He didn't focus on money, he didn't focus on fame, he didn't focus on a pretty statue. It was, how do I make myself better and best person in all these different facets of his life. And ASU gave him that opportunity to do that. So thank you to ASU. Obviously can't speak for Pat, he spoke for himself while he was alive. But I'm grateful that he had that opportunity to do it. Back to the statue. One of the artists, Christian, when I went to see the statue, Christian does the brass work. But when I first came into their facility, they had these. It's kind of strange, but he built these giant brass coffee seeds, the coffee beans. And for whatever reason, I'm not an art connoisseur, but it just struck me like a ton of bricks. And it's like coffee beans. And when I think of Pat, he did a lot of stuff. He was, I spent a lot of time with him in the military, spent a lot of time with him here as a kid. We all did. But when I think of Pat, now that he's gone, I think of when he was at peace and when he was reflecting and communicating and when he was at a coffee shop. It was the most beautiful thing in the world. It's like he killed himself on that field, but when he was at a coffee shop, it was it was like you were the center of the universe, and it was like the seas were calm, and just spending time with them. So when I saw that piece of art, I was like, oh my goodness. And now I go over to a different environment, a football stadium, where I can't wait to see your guys' reaction, not at a coffee shop, but what was your experience with Pat, and how are you going to interpret this beautiful statue that whole team built? From a fan's perspective, it's like you think of the history of ASU, you think of, if it's specifically Pat, but you got a beautiful history there. And more importantly, the statue is not, it's got Pat there, but people come to these games for the players. Like, you guys are out there, Pat he wasn't a sycophant, he didn't sit around and gaze at statues and wish he was the statue. He liked that people appreciated him. And I think that you have a guy, his spirit of Pat, being he was dedicated, he was tough, he was disciplined, all those fancy catchphrases that Coach Graham puts up there. He was all of those, for sure. But I'm very excited for the players that when you go out on the field, how does that art impact you? How do you feel? Like, when I go out there, I'd take on the world. Not at a coffee shop, it's a little different, just chilling. But I'm just grateful that you guys have an opportunity to have the spirit of someone like Pat, just a beautiful, lovely human being, right by your side as you go out there and smash some heads, man. So I wish you guys the best. I would like to introduce. I didn't play football with Pat. I played with him in high school. Leland Charger. I wanted to bring on, I talked to Doug, I'm like, I can't think of a better person to talk about Pat while he was at ASU. Barry Alford was his roommate, he was his best friend, and he played football with him. He was there for 3 years. He's a wonderful human being, and I thought, especially for the players, but everybody, to have BJ say a few words about Pat, because this is for you guys, like, you're out there, you're about to play tomorrow. And I thought it'd be nice to have Barry out there and say a few words about Pat. So Barry, if you can come on up there.